It's podcast mode. It's podcast mode. All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Long Lost Podcast. I'm Lyra.
I'm Lana.
And this week, we are talking about Season 1, Episode 6, House of the Rising Sun. Before we get into it, you got stuff you want to talk about before we get into this episode, Lana?
So I found myself walking around a store looking for food to buy, and the food that I settled on as like a snack food was grapes.
Grapes are great.
Yeah, it just was very out of character for me. I don't think I've ever done that before in my life, but like I want to have something at home to snack on. I'm going to buy some grapes.
Huh.
I'm very much chips, pretzels, Cheez-Its.
Wow, real moment of growth here.
Didn't feel like growth because it wasn't like, wow, let's look back at the path I took to get here. It's more just like, I wanted grapes today, and I don't know why.
Yeah, but that's cool.
That's not how growth works, though. It's just spontaneous change for no reason.
No, but it's subconscious change.
But I don't know if I want grapes tomorrow.
Yeah, but you have them right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's all I got. What about you?
I guess I'm sick this week, so if my voice sounds fucked up, or if I, start passing out, or, dying, that's because I'm ill again. Ill in so many ways.
After watching this last episode, I'm finding myself feeling a little ill.
Oh my god. Okay, I can't wait to get into it. So let's what do we do? How do I always forget how this goes? Do we want to say initial impressions or just get into the recap?
I think we give very broad impressions.
I guess you started to do that. Let's hear
Yeah, okay. So imagine you've got a wonderful, beautiful sunset, right? And then you look down and the sunset is over a sewage facility.
Oh my god.
Now, in this sewage facility, somebody has built a roller coaster.
Okay, this metaphor is getting...
And when you get on the roller coaster...
Okay, yeah,
And you're going up, and you're feeling good, and you're looking above you, you're looking straight up at this beautiful sky, beautiful sunset, and then you go over the peak, and you're going down, and you're just staring at a bunch of shit. And then it goes whoop, and you go back up, and there's this... That's how I felt this episode was.
That's crazy. All right, I really want to hear your take on it, because I felt... My broad feeling on this episode was that it was more well-rounded than previous episodes. So, which is sounds like basically the exact opposite of how you felt. I'm super hyped to talk about it. But first, we need to know what happened. All right, ready for the recap?
Oh God, I am so ready. Good luck to you.
Yeah, this is about 2 pages long, nearly. Let's buckle in. Let's fucking do it. Okay, so this is happening every episode, but I do have to mention that we start on an eyeball shot of Sun. She's picking some flowers from the island brush. Kate, Jack, Charlie, and Locke leave the beach to go get water from the caves and bring it back to everybody else. Sun is watching Jin catch a fish with his bare hands as we launch into our first flashback. Sun is at an outdoor cocktail party in Korea. Jin, a server at the party, brings her a drink and the two exchange some knowing eyes. We see the two of them meet discreetly away from the party to smooch. They're so in love. Wow. Jin gives Sun a white flower. Sun is nervous that her father will catch them and says that she wants the two of them to run away to America. Jin isn't into the idea of eloping, though, and is like, I'll talk to your father and make him understand. Sun says, you don't know my father. She's jolted out of this memory when Jin charges at Michael, basically trying to murder him, drown him in the ocean, basically. Sawyer and Saeed come in to save the day, they break the two apart, and they handcuff Jin to some wreckage. Having reached the cave, Charlie suggests digging through the luggage from the plane fragments there. While everyone else seems to go fill up water bottles, Charlie sneaks off to do some drugs. However, he's interrupted by Locke, who's like, dude, stop. Don't move. And Charlie is like, what do you mean? And Locke is like, you're standing on a beehive. Charlie looks down, and indeed, he's in a fucking predicament. On the beach, everyone is yelling about Jin attacking Michael. Sun watches on, and we get another flashback. Jin tells her, after doing a little fake-out, that her father agreed to their marriage. However, first, Jin will have to work for a couple of years for her father. He gives her a diamond ring. While apprehensive, Sun seems excited for their future. This is also the point at which we sort of realize that her father must be really rich based on the house and having people work for him in a training program and whatever. Back with Charlie's predicament. Jack is trying to cover up the hive with some luggage so that Charlie can move without the bees all attacking him. But Charlie freaks out and crushes the hive, and now there's bees just everywhere. Everyone is running through the jungle to escape the bees, and Jack and Kate end up in the caves, where they both take off their shirts, in order to swat the bees away. Kate realizes she has stumbled onto 2 dead bodies, long rotten and withered away. Jack says it must have been at least 50 years since they died. One of them holds a small sack that contains 2 stones, one white and one black. Back to a Sun flashback. We can see that the married couple is now pretty well off financially. However, their marriage seems more distant, with Jin working a lot and Sun telling him, "Remember when you could just give me a flower?" In the caves, Jack and Kate are about to head back with all the water. Charlie and Locke are going to stay to look through the luggage. Before leaving, Jack suggests that lugging all this water back and forth is going to be fucking annoying, and the caves would also make a good shelter. So people should instead come to the caves and start settling down there. Another Sun flashback. This one is years since the previous one, and Jin comes into the house covered in blood. Sun is like, "Whose blood is this? What do you do for my father?" They basically get into an argument. Jin grabs and shoves her, and then Sun slaps him before he says, "I do whatever your father asks." Sun's face tells us that she doesn't really know the man in front of her anymore. Locke is with Charlie, and is being really straightforward that he's not going to let Charlie out of his sight. This is annoying for Charlie, who just wants to get high, man. But we get a little moment where we learn that Locke actually knows Charlie's band, and has things to say about their discography. Wow. Back on the beach, a rift begins to form with the people who want to stay on the beach to keep the signal fire as strong as possible in hopes of a rescue, and the people who want to find a better place to camp at the caves. Sort of a, should we get used to living here, or should we focus on getting out of here? Saeed is the main voice advocating for staying on the beach, while Jack is pushing for going to the caves. Michael is just chopping some bamboo when Sun approaches him. We get a cut-in flashback of Sun seeming to speak to an interior designer in her and Jin's apartment. However, when her and the designer go into the bedroom, we learn that actually the designer is helping Sun escape her marriage and her controlling family. Basically, there's this whole plan for her escape. She's told at the airport at 11:15, make an excuse and go outside, where she'll get picked up and can escape. And basically, Sun and her family will think that she's been kidnapped and then dead, because she'll just disappear. This interior designer also mentions, "Did you finish your lessons?" We return back to the present, and bam! Turns out Sun does speak English, to Michael's shock, and she tells him that the reason Jin attacked him was because the watch that Michael salvaged from the wreckage is her father's watch, and Jin having it is, and this is a quote from the episode, "a matter of honor." Meanwhile, Locke finally just tells Charlie straight up that he knows about the drugs, and says that Charlie is going to run out at some point and have horrible withdrawals, so he should at least give up the drugs now so that it's his choice. Locke also basically tells him that the island will give him his guitar back if he gives something to the island in return. Charlie is convinced by this, and Locke tells Charlie to look up, revealing that the guitar was above them, caught in some roots the whole time. Michael gives Jin the watch back, and frees him from the handcuffs while being very threatening about it with an axe. We have our last flashback here of Sun and Jin at the airport. Sun, who is super distraught, looks at the clock and sees that it's 11:15. She begins to walk towards the exit, but she glances at Jin first, who smiles at her and holds up a white flower. She weeps and slowly returns to him. We end with a little sad guitar song as the 2 groups of survivors, now split between the caves and the beach, settle in for the night. Whew. All right, you want to fucking dive in here?
Yeah, so I think as per usual, I have basically 2 varieties of comments notes in terms of specific scene-based instances and broad commentary, right?
Yeah.
Is there a way we do this? Is there a way we want to be doing this?
Why don't we start with my takeaway from the episode was that the different subplots that were going on were all sort of interesting. There was a lot of character stuff that I thought was effective. There wasn't a really singular, really fantastic part, in my opinion, but this episode was more well-rounded than the others. I know your opinion is basically the opposite, so I'm curious about broadly, what are the parts that worked and what are the parts that did not work for you?
First of all, it's funny that I feel that way about this episode because I literally wrote down 7 minutes in and I'm loving it.
Okay, what were those first 7 minutes?
I really liked Jin rushing Michael and just beating the absolute shit out of him.
Yeah, he was gonna murder this guy.
It was evocative. It was intense. It was very abrupt.
Oh yeah, it's also when Saeed and Sawyer come in to stop him, Saeed does this full speed running tackle of Jin, and it looks sick. It's crazy. He tackles him into the ocean.
I think all of that action was great.
Yeah.
It worked visually for me and like emotionally. I was like, wow, these are people that are fucking scrapping.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just thought that whole scene worked really, really well for me. And I liked that Sawyer was rushing in to help save Michael. And, you know, I want more of that from him.
He's getting some more little stuff like that that's sort of complicating his character.
Yeah.
Which is very, like, this episode, it's like, I guess we get another side to Jin, but also he seems to just suck super hard. Like,
yeah, I have a lot to talk about.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about
that for sure. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
But broadly, I agree. He just sucks.
What else in the first 7 minutes was cool? Was that the main stuff that you were like,
yeah, that was the main stuff. The fight, the way it was so abrupt, it really worked for me. Again, both visually and impactfully emotionally. I like that Sawyer was helping. I like the leadership split dynamic where you have Jack and Kate and, to a lesser degree, Locke, I guess, off away so that Saeed is the one who's forced into dealing with this issue.
Yeah.
They can't go to Jack and be like, Jack, what do we do about this? And I think that helps kind of establish later the broad split between the two parties.
Yes.
It helps that they've already, and this is true for the past few episodes too, which I think is good lead up to that moment of the split where the leadership responsibilities has been split kind of due to necessity too, like Jack with the marshal didn't have time to be leading, so Saeed took over for that portion and stuff. So I think that was good too, and just interesting having that dynamic.
Yeah, I think the sort of the rift that starts to form is cool. Like, I like seeing the characters deal with these problems that don't really have like a right or wrong answer in terms of like, what is our best strategy here to survive? And like, I like seeing different characters have whatever their motivations are for like doing following different paths or whatever.
I really want to like Sawyer. Like, I could like Sawyer if he wasn't a total misogynist and bigot. If he was just an asshole, I would like him.
Seriously, I have that exact note. I was like, literally, I have this note that's like, please, Sawyer, stop being racist. Like, just stop being racist, because like, he is such a like good
rascal.
Yeah, like where it's like, fuck that guy, but then he's also like charming and handsome, and you're like, maybe he's not so bad. Sometimes he does like,
and he does something good. He's like a very Han Solo type.
Yeah, but like then when he's like racist and misogynist and shit, it's like, dude, not that makes it like really not his redeeming qualities. Don't redeem that. It like sucks.
And it's too bad because I think you could make him more interesting in that way, but I don't know, maybe it'll kind of go away. Like, I'm not saying make him a great dude. I'm just saying don't make him a bigot.
Yeah, like,
that's it.
I like him as like this kind of asshole-ish guy. And like,
who even will do things to people that are bad.
Yeah, like he's kind of selfish and shitty, and he'll like say mean things to people. It just sucks when those things are like straight up bigoted. And I feel like that's really a sign of the times that, for
that's true.
Him being a bigot falls into the same umbrella as like him being an asshole.
Yeah, it's much more acceptable, I suppose, in 2004.
Yeah, it's like, that jerk, he should shut up, as opposed to like, dude, like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, he had a funny line that I noted down. He says, Saeed is talking to Sun in English, and this is before they know that Sun, I guess none of them really, except Michael, learn that Sun speaks English. But anyway,
yeah.
Sawyer says, "A little louder, Omar, maybe she'll understand," which I thought was really funny because it's obviously really dumb when people talk slowly and loudly, and as though that will help somebody understand a different language. So it's interesting that they have Sawyer, of all people, point that out, but then while pointing that out, he's racist towards Saeed. It's just like this weird...
Yeah, it's like
counterpoints in its own self.
Yeah, it's weird, for sure. There's also, something else, there's a previous episode where Saeed's is like talking to Sun. Basically, he's like, I know you can understand me.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, it's just like a random passing thing that like I noticed because I knew that she speaks English.
There was a part in that opening that I thought sucked and was horrible, but had a redeeming moment in it. I've touched on it before, and it remains true for me in this episode. Kate and Jack scenes suck so much. They are terrible. There's a scene very early where they're like flirting, kind of, and their faces are getting really close to each other, and it's weird, and I hate it. And Charlie makes fun of them, and that was very funny.
Yeah, I do think it's funny that Charlie's like, fuck your romance. It's fucking annoying.
He had some funny line of like, if you're done like verbally copulating or something.
That's funny.
But yeah, just Jack and Kate scenes remain unbearable to me.
Yeah, I also agree their romance stuff is, like, lame. There is one moment I like in this episode that's a scene between them, which is that I like the moment when basically, like, Kate and Jack are, like, lugging water. They, like, take a little break, and Kate is, like, just, like, putting her backpacks down or something, and then she's, like, she tries, like, flirting with Jack, and she's like, oh, are you checking me out? And he's like, nope. I'm not thinking about that. And she's like, well, what are you thinking about? And he's like, actually, I was thinking about, like, the caves and stuff, and, like, that we should tell people to go there because it's a good shelter.
I did like that part from Jack. That was good. I liked that. Yeah, for sure. But I still hated Kate in that scene.
Do you? Yeah.
I can't stand Kate.
She's pretty, like, nothing.
She's nothing, and then is just annoying. Can't stand Kate.
What about it is so grating? In
the same way that I really like Jack being like, no, I was actually focused on our survival situation. I didn't like Kate being like, oh, you must be checking out my ass, huh? Because I'm so hot. And Jack's just like, nope. I don't know. She bothers me.
Yeah. I don't know.
I got more to say about Kate later.
Should we talk about that? Do we want to go into, like, the whole Sun flashback plot?
Oh, when do we want to...
Or do we want to talk about, I don't know, the cave stuff with Charlie and Locke? There's a lot of different plots. That's, like, why the summary was so long in this episode. There's kind of a lot of different subplots, and unlike previous episodes, there's not really any that we could just, like, leave out.
I think there is one weird little subplot that we can entirely leave out, and that should have been left out from the episode entirely.
I think I know which one it is. Tell me what it is.
The bee scene has no reason to exist.
The bee scene was really fucking stupid. It was just very pointless. I guess it, like, was kind of comedy stuff, but it did feel like a filler issue. It's like, Charlie stepped on the bees. Now they're running from the bees. Also, like, Jack and Kate, they're fleeing from the bees. They run into the caves, and then they both rip off their shirts to swat the bees or something. It's like, don't you want as much stuff covering your skin as possible if you're being attacked by bees? Like, that instinct makes zero sense.
Literally the only reason. I think you're right. I think it was supposed to give some levity and some comedy. The thing is, I didn't find it funny, like, at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's, like, not...
I was so annoyed watching that scene because I'm like literally as soon as it started, I was just like, why is this happening? And then it never justified itself.
I guess it...
No, there's nothing. No.
Well,
no,
it splits them up.
No.
But then they get back together.
They immediately get back together, and then Jack and Kate choose to leave to take the water back and stuff. Like, it doesn't split them up.
Yeah.
The only thing it functionally
right.
does... This is what it does, and I want to talk about this. It gets Jack and Kate to take off their shirts, but we're going to talk about that. That's the next thing we're going to talk about.
Yeah, let's...
But if you want Jack and Kate to get their fucking shirts off, there's better ways to go about that than bees.
It's so random. Like, it's...
I hated the bees thing. It was terrible. Also, I'm sorry, but the writing was... I think the writing in this episode was broadly terrible, to be honest. With a few instances that was quite good, which is why I feel so weird about it. Because I'm like, how is this all in one episode written by the same people? But Charlie goes, hey, I have an irrational fear of bees. I'm, like, phobic of bees, right? He's got, like, 50 bees crawling all over his face.
Yeah, he's handling it pretty well.
And he does break and smash the thing and run away. But yeah, I'm sorry. What was being depicted as his reaction and the lines he was saying do not belong together.
It's very dumb.
It was really bad. Just from every aspect. From, it does nothing for the plot, it does nothing for the characters, it does nothing for the themes, and it wasn't entertaining as a standalone.
So let's talk about Jack and Kate having their shirts off.
Yes.
I guess the point of this was literally so that we can see the attractive actors with their shirts off.
Yes.
There's no other point.
No.
They don't even have a thing where they, like, notice each other and are like, oh, and they have, like, an awkward flirtatious... Like, that doesn't even happen, which is strange, because it feels like that's obviously what it's setting up. So it feels like, that makes it feel even more just like, this is for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, what were your... Do you have things about them having their shirts off?
Yeah, I have some good thoughts and some dark feelings about this, weirdly.
Okay.
First of all, I just want to get this out there. It's not an appropriate joke, but it was one that I thought was snappy and somewhat clever if, obviously this was written, but if somebody came up with it in the moment, I would be like, you're thinking about jokes pretty good there.
Yeah.
When Kate was like, gets the shirt back and she goes, it was full of B's. And then Charlie looks at her and goes, more like C's or something.
Yeah, he's like, I would have thought C's, actually.
Yeah.
And then Kate just, like, looks at him, and then he, like, looks down, like, embarrassed and is like, sorry.
He's basically like, oh shit, I said that out loud.
It is a witty joke. Like, if they weren't, like, if it wasn't like, this is a guy that you just met making jokes about your tits.
It's inappropriate.
Yeah, it's inappropriate. But
I was at least like, that's funny.
It is witty, yeah.
So there's that, whatever. I liked that part. And I liked it for Charlie, just that he said it, he's witty, but he also was kind of ashamed that he said it.
Yeah, I like that he apologizes, like and he looks like he feels pretty bad about it. Like, he's like, I shouldn't have said that.
That's cool for him. So my stuff, and I want to hear what you think about it too, but my stuff with the exploitation of Kate's body in this show broadly, it sucks.
Yeah.
It's not appropriate. It doesn't serve any filmatic purpose. It is purely, hey audience, here is attractive body on woman. I hate it. Here's the thing. If I'm being entirely honest, I think I would hate it less if I found her more attractive. Part of it, to some degree for me, she's clearly not unattractive, right? Just not my type.
Sure.
So when we're getting this, like, gross, over the top, unnecessary, this part is here just to look at this body. And it's not even a body I really want to look at. I'm even more annoyed. Like, if it was somebody I was super attracted to, it's not good. I'm not saying it speaks well of me, but I'd be like, well, yeah, damn.
Yeah,
but it's not. So and I'm not saying that speaks well of me, but it's there.
Sure. Some, like, dark thoughts with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's annoying that this keeps happening. It's like been at like every other episode or something. There's just like random woman with no top, and it's
not good.
Mostly Evangeline Lilly. Yeah. So the culmination of that is they find these bodies in the cave with this bag with rocks in it. This is a thing that I definitely made note of feeling like it was super extraneous.
Definitely.
I felt like it was like, oh, kind of random. Okay, maybe we're having like themes, like this is sort of a backgammon callback with the black and the white stones or whatever. But also just like the characters don't really like linger on it. It doesn't really like inform stuff. It's very like the polar bear IMO, where it's just like kind of a random thing that happens and we're just like, I guess that's mysterious.
That's almost even referenced in the scene where she's like, where did these come from? And Jack's like, where'd the polar bear come from?
Yeah.
It felt to me almost like, you're right, they spent so little time on it and they didn't linger on it. It kind of felt to me like, here's this thing that, like, don't worry about it. It'll be important later. Almost.
Yeah. Like,
we need to establish this, but we're not going to deal with it in this episode.
Yeah. It's just like, it feels very like random in the episode.
It was.
And here's something from my original watch. This was so extraneous that I like, for a long time in my original watch of the series, I like forgot it had happened.
It's funny you say that because I didn't forget it happened, but I kind of forgot it happened. like I didn't forget it happened, but it wasn't in my mind when I'm thinking about this episode at all in terms of important things happening or my feelings about it or anything.
Yeah, I like just had note of it because it feels so random. Like, it feels kind of like mystery quota. It's like, we got to add a new mystery this episode. So here you go.
I agree.
Checking me out?
Yes.
My husband doesn't know. I asked them, what were you thinking? Don't stop to think this right now.
Okay, one of the other major subplots, like, should we talk about the Charlie Locke?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about the sun stuff last, I guess.
Yeah, let's do the Charlie Locke subplot. So basically, this subplot revolves around Locke, like, following Charlie around while Charlie's trying to do drugs.
It revolves around Locke being fucking awesome and so fucking cool. I literally, as soon as Jack and Kate are like, all right, guys, we're going to leave you here alone, I have in my notes, please save us, Locke and Charlie. Save this episode for us, please. And I don't know that they saved the episode for me. I think I didn't like it overall, but they did their best. I really liked their scenes.
Yeah, I like their stuff too. You know, I like Locke's, like, weird faith in the island. I also like how he's we keep getting fake outs about him, like, following Charlie, but you can tell that he, like, knows stuff just, like, by his performance. Like, he kind of knows what's up. But we keep getting things where Charlie's like, why are you following me? And Locke will be like, well, it's nighttime and there's, like, wild animals out there and I'm not gonna, like, let you get mauled or whatever.
Yeah, and he says, he's like, I know you're looking for something, because Charlie was gonna look for more drugs.
Uh-huh.
And then he's like, your guitar.
Yes.
And Charlie's like, oh, okay. Yeah, like, it's good stuff.
Yeah. And Locke having this speech to Charlie, I kind of have thoughts about, like, Charlie and his addiction.
Yeah.
Which is actually, like, I feel like I'm going to talk about them during Charlie's episode when we get a bit more context for it. But I think, to me, the way that this plays out between Locke and Charlie, like, Locke's thoughts on how this works, basically, like, Locke's perspective that it's like you can make a choice to give this up or whatever. It makes sense that he has that perspective, I feel like. I do really like the scene that the two of them have, like, when Charlie gets his guitar back.
It's so great. It's so good.
Locke he is, like, doing his, like, speech sort of like he did to Jack in the last episode, right? Where he's kind of going into, like, I have faith in the island, like, it'll give you what you seek if you give something to it. And it's this kind of like, it's like semi-mystical stuff. And then, like, at the end, once he convinces Charlie to, like, give him the drugs, he's just like, look up. And Charlie's like, don't tell me that I have to pray or something. And Locke's like, look up. And then Charlie looks up and the guitar is just, like, right there. And I like that that's, like, it's ambiguous about whether anything mystical is happening or whether it's just, like, mundane stuff that, like, Locke is interpreting in this way.
And this is, I really loved that part too. And I think this is part of where I got kind of tripped up on myself with the writing, because I feel like that is a really good decision.
Yeah.
To have that balance between the magical, the mystical, the faith, and the practical.
Right.
And physical. And it was done really well. I think it was really well written. And I think it's important for Locke's character. I really like that he can still be a fanatic.
Uh-huh.
But he's the type of fanatic where he'll interpret what might be a mundane action or mundane event as being something more because has that much faith in the island.
Yeah, because, like, there have been things that are certainly that seem more mystical, right? Like Jack stumbling on the water or whatever. But, like, also could be mundane. And this is one where it's like, yeah, it's much more ambiguous, I would say.
I think, yeah, it's just, I really like that balance between practicality and the magicalness of the island. I think it's really well done, and it's a good idea to do it like that instead of just having this proselytizing believer in hard fucking off-the-wall magic shit.
Yeah.
So I really loved that scene. That was definitely a high point, I think, for me in the episode. And it was also, I think they both had great performances in it.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, they were both really good. I noticed that. I also this is just like a random thing. I like that Locke actually knows Charlie's band. Like, I think that was a pretty good little dodge and weave. Like, there were a couple of those little dialogue bits. Like we talked about the one with Jack and Kate, where Kate thinks he's flirting or whatever, but he's not. There's a couple of little moments, I think, where there's like the dialogue sort of does a little dodge, little weaves out of your expectations in a satisfying way.
It made me think back too to when Locke is making a whistle and Charlie comes and is like, I'm in a band. And Locke just doesn't acknowledge him really at all.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny.
It is funny. He's like, huh. But it's like what in the back of Locke's mind, he was like, that guy said he was in a band. What band?
In my head, he's like, I've got to remain mysterious for the next couple episodes.
That is kind of what it actually is, yeah. Another major subplot we haven't talked about is the whole, like, split between, like, going to the caves or staying on the beach thing.
Yeah.
I thought, like, I like seeing this sort of split come up about, like, what to do. Like, I like seeing the characters being, like, having, like, practical concerns, sort of, like, these practical concerns split them up along, like, ideological lines.
Yeah,
sort of.
Puts them into different factions, which is always fun.
Yeah. I like that Kate and Jack end up on opposite sides of that. I, like, agree, like, their maybe romance or whatever is, like, very
sucks
whatever.
So much.
But like, you know, them being split up, it's like creating some drama. Maybe that'll be interesting.
Yeah, hopefully they don't have any more scenes together. That would be awesome.
They're just separate for the rest of the show.
I don't have that much to say about this plot. Saeed's cool. I like Saeed.
Yeah.
There's a moment when he's, holy shit. Oh my god. There's a moment when Saeed is chopping wood. And he's so hot.
Yeah, that is true.
And then he has a line where he says,
it's about time. I am dying of thirst.
And I was just like, damn, Saeed, you are not the only one. Holy shit. He looks so good.
Yeah, for real. It's fucking hilarious.
Anyway, I just want to point that out when it occurs in these episodes, how hot Saeed is.
Yeah, for sure.
There's one more thing I guess, with the splitting of the factions, and I want to talk about the Kate-Jack scene at the end.
Yeah.
Where Jack asks Kate, what did you do? And she's like, you had your chance to know. And Jack's like, okay, well, you know where I'll be. And then she's like, yeah, you know where I'll be. I thought that was terrible. I thought everything about it was terrible.
Well, why? Walk me through this.
Because Jack just went through this whole thing of clean slate, and he's not asking what she did because he wants to judge her for it. He's asking what she did so he can understand how she got where she is emotionally or whatever. That's fine. I get that. But I still am of the thought that it doesn't fucking matter. That if this is how she is emotionally right now, deal with that rather than needing to know what she did and whatever. Also, my second point is just Kate's whole thing, and it's pushed in this episode also, when Jack is like, we could make a home here, and we get a long shot of Kate in the cave being like, oh, home, that's a scary word for me. She's like, Kate doesn't want to settle down. She can't settle down. That's Kate.
Yeah, that's her thing.
So don't put the words in her mouth, you know where to find me. Because you shouldn't know where to find her. Like, that's counter to the one fucking character trait she has.
That is a good point.
Is that you don't know where to find her because she doesn't settle down.
Yeah, that's fair, for sure.
That really pissed me off. Just from a writing perspective. I was like, what are we doing here? This is anyway. So I did not like that scene at all. I thought it was terrible.
I definitely like glossed over. There's a bunch of little scenes where like Saeed or Jack, whoever, is like talking to another character and being like, so are you going to stay on the beach or not? And those scenes are very like, whatever. They're very like functional, right?
Yep.
Let's briefly visit our recurring segment, which you were leading, Michael Watch.
Oh, Michael has another shitty episode.
Yeah, I was like not into how Michael was written throughout this episode, and Michael and Walt's whole thing
is terrible. The writing for Michael is terrible. When Walt asks, what did you do to that dude? Michael gets all fucking pissy, and he's like getting all argumentative and adversarial with his child, who is a young child who asked you can just be like, oh, I didn't do anything to that guy. I don't know why he's that mad, right?
Yeah.
He literally tells him, what kind of man do you think I am anyway? Like, it's just really poorly written.
The other thing is that it feels like the episode frames it as like what happens in that scene. There's a point where Walt's like, you don't know anything about me. What? You don't even know my birthday. And Michael's like, yeah, I do. It's this date. And Walt's like, And then Michael's like, do you know my birthday? And Walt's like,
Fucking got him, Michael. Fucking got him.
Yeah,
You really showed him.
yeah, you really fucking owned your son there.
Yeah, like...
And the episode frames it like Walt is the one who is somehow needs to reconcile their relationship, because then at the end they're sitting around the campfire and there's a little moment where Walt is like, oh, Dad, can I ask you something? And Michael's like, okay, whatever, sure, man. And Walt is like, what's your birthday? And they like sort of have a little like, come here. Michael should like treat his son better, maybe like offer knowledge about himself.
Yeah.
Like if he wants his son to know him, be like, yeah, ask him questions. Like, yeah.
But I also just thought his scene with Son, his dialogue, I thought just sucked. It was just badly written.
He's like upset with her. Like he acts like, I get particularly early on, like I get him being like pissed about like, for instance, like he gets attacked and then people are like, what did you do, Michael? They're like yelling at him and he's like, I didn't fucking do anything or whatever.
Yeah.
I get him being upset about the fact that he was almost murdered and shit, but he also like is angry at everyone, even people who didn't like do anything, including his child. It's like very weird. I didn't care for how he was handled. I want the show to not frame it like somehow Walt is the one that needs to repair their relationship. It's like pretty ridiculous. All right, should we get into the Son stuff? It's interesting because it's like Son's flashbacks, but in terms of like what she does in the episode, there is not actually a lot. Like what she does in the present time.
It felt like a bitch can't even get her own episode. Like, her flashback episode isn't even hers.
Yeah, I feel like my take... yeah, do I have a solid take here? Because I think her story told in the flashbacks is about how she doesn't control her life. And at the end, she does, like, make some choices, right?
Okay, that's fair.
That said, we still don't really get a sense of what her character is like, which is kind of weird. Like, she's mostly...
She is characterized through her relationship with a man.
Yes, like, she's mostly like the abused wife.
Yep.
Which, like, is the sort of tragedy that the flashbacks are telling, right? That she's, like, in this relationship.
Let's talk about the flashbacks.
Yeah. Tell me... What's your, like, feeling on them in general?
Broadly, I felt like they followed the trend that the flashbacks have of being very information-packed and emotionally non-impactful and being information-centric but really inefficiently. That's how I felt about them. I would have loved to have seen why she fell in love with this man, because the only depictions we get of him is him being terrible.
Yeah, it's like he's like kind of nice and sweet in the first two flashbacks or whatever.
In a way that we commonly see in real life, shitheads will be nice and sweet to a woman, like, you know?
Totally. Yeah, it seems like he was always
exactly
shitty.
That's
like the fact
that
he is, which is something that's interesting, right? Because that falls into how much, like, the kind of the awareness about, like, abusive relationships, like, what it was like in the public consciousness, right? Because, like, him being nice or, like, getting her gifts or whatever, even when it's like, oh, you got me a flower, it's a sign of love, that is not, like, contrary to him being abusive and controlling.
Exactly, right? I would have really loved for them to have used the flashbacks to show us her falling in love with a wonderful guy who changes into what he is in our current time. And she's like, this has changed. This is not the man I fell in love with. I need to leave this relationship or whatever. Instead of just like, it's the same dude.
Yeah, I guess it's like, it's interesting to talk about this because I think you're totally right. I also feel like the flashbacks for me mostly did work on an emotional level. Maybe it's just because I'm like fucking depressed or something. The tragedy, like, it worked for me. But I think that a big part of that is that the actor who plays Sun, and hopefully I'm pronouncing her name right, Kim Yeon-jin, I think she does a lot when she is given basically like very, very little like dialogue.
I agree.
I think she does a lot with like her face. That to me, like, because you're saying like, oh, it would have been nice to see like why she fell in love with this guy and like he was actually a nice guy and he changes and stuff. I think it's like her face tells that story. And I agree with you that I think it would be a lot better if we actually saw that. Like if it wasn't like implied by her performance.
Yeah.
But I think that's like, it was enough to sell it to me. Like I thought her performance was really, really strong.
I agree about her performance. I thought it was really good, especially in that last scene. I thought the last scene was the one that actually worked for me and was really good.
Yeah, that like really worked for me. On a couple of levels too.
Yeah, I agree. Like that you get, I don't know how long, but a very long shot with no dialogue, no action, just on her face.
Yeah.
And it is compelling and it is emotional and it works and it doesn't feel slow or anything. It's great.
Yeah, you can like really see her like agonizing over like this is like the crux of her life, right? Like should she like abandon her family and her husband and all the people who are controlling her and make her life miserable? So you totally get why she would be having this. And I guess like that's why it's so tragic, right? Because it's like we as an outside observer could be like, yeah, your life would probably be a lot better if you left.
That's why I really, really liked it's the roller coaster for me. I really, really liked that I was so ready for her to be making her move to leave, and then there's some commotion and, she can't make it out for whatever reason. An outside force. That's what I was so ready for. And then she's stuck on a plane when she had tried to escape, and now she's in this mess on the island.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that she chose to go back.
Yeah.
That makes her whole story valuable instead of just not.
Totally. And it's like you can tell, and this is another, where her performance is so strong because like you can see just in her face, you can see that she like knows she's making the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Like, but she like can't, this is the one that she is taking,
No, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned being able to relate to some of that stuff. I can definitely relate to making bad decisions.
Yeah.
And just being like, even in the moment, being like, yep, this is bad, but here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought like that story, it's like I totally agree with your criticisms of it, but it's like emotionally it did work for me, Yeah.
I think certainly the ending worked for me. The ending, I just wanted a better journey to the ending, I guess. But the ending definitely did work.
You're totally right. Like, I think it really would have benefited if we like saw why are they in love? Like,
well,
what is
exactly? Yeah, and to me, it follows the same trend with the flashbacks of you're spending this much time on them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you could be using them just more efficiently than showing us Jin being a shithead. We know that. We've seen that. You've already shown us that, Like, honestly, it could have been interesting to me if in the flashbacks we don't get Jin being a shithead at all. And we just have to know that we've seen who he is now. So we know that there was a change and that he got there from what we're seeing in the flash. Anyway, but the last flashback I did think was very good.
Yeah. I also... This is like kind of tangential to the actual Sun stuff, but I like that in this flashback you overhear like a bit of Jack's like...
I was going to mention that, yeah.
Him talking to the person at the counter or whatever.
Yeah,
and
nice.
Like from that little perspective, it just sounds like he's just like being a jerk or whatever.
Yeah.
It's also something I noticed while he's giving his speech, like in his episode during that scene, you can see the moment where like Jin turns to look at Sun, which
interesting.
I thought was pretty cool. Like it just happens in the background.
I do like just having that. It's just tying stuff together. It's cool.
Yeah, and it creates a cool feeling of like these characters were just having like separate lives, like. Mm-hmm. Oh, they are just like random people at the airport to each other up until the moment of this crash where they're like forced to coexist.
Yeah.
It like was cool in the way that it created that feeling. So I guess Jin is like a mobster or something?
Yeah, I actually liked the reveal of that. Like, like you mentioned in the synopsis, there was some mystery surrounding what Sun's father does.
Yeah.
And then I liked the reveal. It's a part of the flashbacks that worked for me, but not in relation to Sun's character. Just the reveal of like him coming in with all the blood, and she's like, "Oh no, what happened to you?"
Uh-huh.
And then we realize it's not his blood.
Yeah.
And we're like, "Oh damn." I think that's cool. I like that. Yeah, it's some sort of crime, mobsteryisms. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that is going on. I wish Jin would get the Sawyer treatment of like getting some more added depth.
Yeah, I mean,
I also want Sun deserves better than this guy. Like, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. But I mean, so yeah, with Jin, it's like I'm thinking back now to when he went around offering everybody sushi.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking like doing that is kind of every other thing he's ever done or said was fuck these people. It's just us two.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he did the thing with the sushi, if we're being honest. That feels kind of weird to me now.
Yeah, I don't know. He was having a moment. It's crazy that he catches a fish with his bare hands.
It's wild. I don't mind it, to be honest, because I liked the brutality of him smashing it against a rock or whatever.
Yeah, that's like, very... It's kind of foreshadowing, too.
For sure, yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's a silly thing that's dumb.
Uh-huh.
But it did justify itself to me for its, what it was used for.
The symbology, the metaphor there that's happening.
I just get so upset when we're doing dumb shit that doesn't even have a fucking reason to exist. That's when I get upset.
You mean like Charlie standing on a beehive?
Yeah. What the fuck? Oh boy. Oh my goodness. That scene is gonna live in my head forever. Of just like the most pointless goddamn. That episode would have been so much better if it had just been 35 minutes long instead of 41.
Like it just cuts out that part.
Yeah, it didn't need to.
It was pretty fillery. You're totally right.
Oh.
Okay, here's another thing that I think is at least worth touching on. Even though it's not really either of our lanes, I think it's worth mentioning that I am curious about how accurate the depiction of Korean culture is.
I was thinking that also, yeah.
There's a couple of things that I feel able to lightly comment on, as a white woman. I don't want to step outside of my lane and talk about shit that I don't actually know anything about, but I'll say part where Sun says oh, the watch is a matter of honor. I know that honor, the idea of various East Asian cultures being homogenized into being about honor is a big stereotype.
Yeah.
When Western stories talk about East Asian cultures.
I picked up on that too. It didn't feel good.
No, yeah, that I thought it was lame.
Yeah, and I feel like it's one of those instances too that I feel like we run into with this show where you didn't need to have that line. You could have Jin be that upset about that watch without saying it's a matter of honor. Just be like, yeah, that's his father-in-law's watch. His father-in-law and his employer. This person he's close to, blah, blah, blah.
And we also get it because it's oh, there's also this the situation there is more complicated.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So kind of clumsy.
Yeah, it's not even a bad thing that is there because it needs to tie something together. It's just an unnecessary. It's an appendix. It's a shitty appendix that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, I guess that also extends to the sort of clumsiness around this stuff. Extends to the title of the episode, which I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Basically, okay, so that the title of the episode is House of the Rising Sun, which I get. It's a reference to the folk song, right? And it's also a pun because, her name is Sun.
That is all I got about it. Is it anything beyond that?
Here's the thing that I think is kind of potentially an issue, and I don't know if this is intentional, but, the image of the rising sun is specifically, a thing associated with Japan.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were oh, it's also clever because
Asia.
Japan, which exactly, which is a different culture than Korea, and also invaded Korea, and there's a whole controversy in Korea about banning the rising sun flag because of what it represents there.
No, you're right. You're right to the degree that, and again, it's 2004, but that doesn't excuse this shit at all. Even if it wasn't on purpose, it's enough that it should have been not used as the title.
Yeah, it's like...
You're totally right.
Yeah, it's specifically like... Yeah, if it's intentional, it's pretty offensive.
If it's intentional, it's disgusting. And if it's not intentional, it's a gross oversight and lack of diligence.
Yeah, yeah. So, I don't know. I'm sure there is a lot more to say, and particularly like as we get more of their stuff. But like, you know, not knowing a lot about Korean culture, it's hard for me to...
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that one thing that I know just from, was it the IMDb? It might be the IMDb trivia.
Oh.
And it's not the biggest thing, but I think it does speak to what you're talking about in terms of how well did they depict Korean culture, potentially. Mm-hmm. They share the same last name in this show, and apparently that is not a thing that Korean men and women do when they get married, is take each other's last name.
Oh, it's like different. There's a different sort of tradition there.
And I hope that's not wrong. But I read that.
and then you look like the asshole.
And then I look like a big ol' asshole. But I read that was basically a goof in Lost.
Well,
regarding that. And assuming that's true, it does go to show that they weren't paying the utmost attention.
Yeah, like, did they have, like...
Or any attention at all.
It feels like probably you should have a Korean person in your writing room if you're gonna have, like, two of the main characters be Korean.
I totally agree. Let's take a little Star Trek detour now, shall we?
Oh, Star Trek detour. All right, let's do it.
You are broadly aware of the series Voyager, yes?
Yes. Yeah, I have not seen Voyager, but yes.
You're not worse off for that. There's a Native American character on that show, Chakotay, who... So the producers of Voyager thought along your lines in terms of, let's get a consultant on so that we can portray this character authentically. Right? So they did that. They hired this guy, paid him for however many seasons or whatever. Chakotay gets various spiritual elements in his plots and character arcs. Mm-hmm. I think he has a spirit guide throughout the show.
Uh-huh.
And it turns out that this guy they hired is just a total fraud.
Oh, my God.
Not native at all, and doesn't have an education in it at all, and was just making shit up.
Oh my God.
So that sucks. And here's the part where, you can think, that sucks, but hey, they had the right thinking and they really tried. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
This fraud con artist man was revealed as a fraud con artist man like 7 years before Voyager was in production.
So they did not do any due diligence to figure out who this guy was.
Yeah. So yeah, they do not get off the hook for any of that shit. It's really gross. It's disgusting. Anyway, at least they didn't do that, or so.
I mean, they might have. Who fucking knows?
Yeah, they might have. But thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, nice. Lovely little detour. All right, so I think that's basically the episode. I guess
I've got one more thing.
Oh yeah, no, tell me.
It's a small thing. It's one of those specific scene things that I just forgot to mention earlier. So at the end, you mentioned they get the sad song, and they do a thing that happens in movies and TV shows a fair amount, which I actually really like. I'm a big sucker for it. They have the character put on the headphones. And then we're hearing the music that they're hearing, and it plays as the soundtrack. So it's kind of diegetic, but not entirely, because it's playing as a soundtrack instead of whatever. I like that a lot. I really do. I love that type of thing. The problem for me on this one is that the song is so on the nose.
It's so on the nose. I was thinking, I had that in my notes too. It's literally...
It's like, is this the place you want to be? Look around you. These are the people you're with.
At the faces that you see, are you sure this is where you want to be?
Honestly, if they just played that as a background song, it would have been very on the nose, but whatever. But the fact that Hurley puts on these headphones and hears that song blows my mind.
That is so true. It's so funny, the idea that Hurley is listening to that. And it's damn, this song is exactly about the situation that I'm in right now.
If I'm Hurley, I ain't listen to that shit. I'm fuck this. Skip. And yeah, just the image of him sitting there hearing that in his skull was hilarious to me.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I guess, what else? Oh, I briefly wanted to mention that there's, like, some Christian allegory going on a little bit. They mentioned, like, they refer to the two bodies in the cave as Adam and Eve. There's, like,
they do.
Charlie having to abstain from sin in order to achieve a reward from above, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's something to keep an eye on, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah, anything else you want to say about this one?
Let's just give some overall impressions, I guess.
I really enjoy having these discussions because I feel like my feelings often change, like as we're talking about stuff.
I agree, same.
I feel softer on the episode than, like, initially we talked about. I still felt like basically I think a lot of the things that, like, really irked you this episode did not bother me so much. And that's why I, like, came away, like, fairly warm on it, I would say.
Yeah, I think they definitely just pissed me off more for whatever reason. And that's fine. I do think that you improved my opinion a bit on the flashbacks. I think basically for me, I really love Locke and Charlie still. I like splitting up the group. I didn't like the Michael scenes at all. Those sucked.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was, personally, there was a strange divide for me between it being really well written in parts and really poorly written in parts. That was strange.
Yeah.
Given that it was written by the same people. Like, I looked it up. The only two writers on this episode were JJ and Lindelof. Those were the only two.
Well, perhaps that means one of them is a better writer than the other one.
I guess.
And, like, the one, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I guess I imagine them working more closely together than, I don't know. But that was weird to me. But overall, I liked the parts I liked. I really liked. I was really, really happy with the parts I liked.
Yeah, it continues to be an inconsistent show, which is something that I definitely mentioned, like, maybe during the pilot episode. Yeah, what are some things you're looking forward to in the next one, or, like, upcoming?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to more monster. Give me more monster. I like monster.
Yeah.
Give me more Locke. I like Locke. I want to see where this split group thing goes. That's cool.
Yeah.
Less Kate would be great, but we'll see. I noticed we didn't have any Shannon or Boone, and that was fine.
I believe they are in one shot at the end on the beach. Yeah. Like, they're part of the survivors.
I didn't miss them.
Decide to stay on the beach.
I'm still feeling pretty hopeful going forward. There's enough good stuff. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I guess I am looking forward to talking about Charlie's drug use and his addiction and that stuff when we kind of get into it. But I guess that's looking forward to in terms of, like, I'm curious to see how it goes. I definitely want I want more, like, Locke stuff. Definitely compelling. I'm gonna keep hammering it, but it would be great. Okay, I think this has established, like, a point for Sun's character to sort of start at and progress from.
Yeah, I totally agree. She's taken the first step.
Yeah, it's like, okay, now we have a setup for what her, like, conflicts are. I mean, we kind of knew them, but we get a bit more context for them, I guess.
Well, and like you mentioned, she did do something to change her situation. Like, she went against something so yeah, it would be great to see that have some momentum. Right?
Yeah, I'm also excited that she started speaking English so she can, like, interact with the other fucking characters, because it's, like, pretty annoying that Jin and Sun, like, don't really haven't really gotten to do that.
Yeah.
Because that's, like, kept either of them from really being involved in anything that's happening.
But there was that time when Michael, for some reason, wanted her to take care of Walt and talked at her.
Yeah.
Very slowly. You didn't like that?
No.
You don't want more of that?
No.
Okay, that's fair.
Nah. So, anyway, I guess, what else am I looking forward to? More Saeed stuff?
Yeah.
More, I do want some more. I want to get into some mysteries, some island mysteries more.
You know what I want? I just realized this right now, thinking about it.
Yeah.
Oh wow, there are two characters who I want to have a little sit-down chat.
Who's that?
Guess who they are.
Saeed and Locke.
No. I don't know why I was so aggressively no about that. I don't know what that was. I don't know why I felt so disgusted in my response.
Yeah. It was offensive that I suggested those two dogs. Who is it?
It's Locke and Rose.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah,
Rose
for sure.
was showing some of that faith too, you know?
Yeah, it would be cool if Rose, like, showed up, was a character more. I don't know. She kind of just, like, appears. She has a very weird role. There are not any other characters that have, like, the level of presence.
That are once in a while characters?
Yeah, like, the other ones all, like, tend to show up every episode and, like, have at least a little scene. But Rose has showed up, like...
I think they should do that with more people, actually.
Yeah,
I
guess, like, having more
it's
random side characters.
You already got so many main characters, and you only got 40 minutes, so I get it.
Yeah, it's kind of like... That's, like, a thing... Like, you mentioned Star Trek. That's also, like, a series that has a lot of main characters, but also has some random side characters who, like, show up. Although the only one I could think of in, like, Next Generation is also a character who I fucking hate.
Was it Barkley?
Yeah, the, like, incel engineer guy who's, like, sucks at everything.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's not... Yep. We could talk about him.
And his performance is so bad.
That actor is now a virulently right-wing radio host.
That so does not fucking surprise me at all. Wow.
Yep.
He was just playing himself.
Wow. There's some episodes with him that are icky.
Yeah.
Very icky.
We could, like, cut this whole digression, but, like, the fact that he, like, makes holograms of real people so he can, like, fuck them or whatever is so fun. It's so fucked up.
In that episode, they go in there, right? Oh my God, there's this line that, God, it had so much potential. I wanted the whole episode to be about this one line. They go in there, and Riker looks around, and he's fucking disgusted, right?
Yeah. Because
Riker is all about boning real people, right? It's like, I'm all about consent. Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
he is actually...
I love that women want me.
Yeah. Riker is, like, the kind of dude... He's, like, he fucks a lot, but he is totally cool because he's actually respectful to people and is, like, enjoys, like, the company of people and shit. Like, and he's all about consent.
He goes in there and he's like, this has got to be illegal, basically.
Yeah.
And Geordi is just like, oh, no, it's actually not. There's no rule against it. And he's just like, well, there should be. And I'm like, yes, Riker, there should be.
Yeah, Riker
Can we talk about that
correct.
This episode? Can we get into why there isn't and how there's not rules about this? This is absurd, but they don't touch on it again. They're just like, this creep. Nobody else does that.
Except Geordi
and they don't get into it.
Does it.
Geordi does that. I know.
Geordi, all the engineers are incels.
It's why it's so funny that Geordi's the one who says it too. Because it's like this weird little, they didn't mean it, but it's this weird little like, oh no, trust me, Riker. I know. I looked it up. There's no rules against it.
Yeah, because he like creates a hologram that he falls in love with or whatever. Why is Geordi an incel? Why did they do that to him?
It's no good.
Bullshit, man. It's just bullshit.
It's fine if Geordi, like, has no game.
Yeah, that's fine. You can have people struggle.
Yeah. But why does he, like... But he's very, like, incel about it.
He doesn't have to be gross about it, though, yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
God. Okay, let's end this digression. Let's, what do we say? What do we do at the end of the episode?
We talked about what we're looking for. We're just done, right?
Yeah, we did it.
All right, we did it. Deuces.
Let's do a little outro.
Oh, we do that too? Here.
Yes, so we... oh, what the fuck? How do we podcast? Should we talk about the... Do I say the next episode title?
Oh, yeah, we haven't done that part yet. What are we watching next week?
We are watching Season 1, Episode 7, The Moth.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Am I getting a spoiler about the flashback character?
This one is a Charlie episode. So this is like why I held off on talking about any of that stuff, because I knew we were getting right into it.
Yeah. I wonder what the flame is going to be if we're talking about the moth.
Oh, shit.
Bro.
Who's the moth? Who's the flame? Metaphors. There's so many fucking characters in this show. Like, I'm just like looking through the episodes and like it's gonna take so long to just like get through the flashbacks of the main characters, like to see them all, you know?
I assume does it start going to like second tier flashbacks of
it? Yeah, I mean it starts.
It must double up, right?
Yeah, it'll return to characters and tell different parts of their story and stuff. But it's like there's so many characters to go through to even before that can happen, you know? It's wild. All right. Thanks for listening to the Long Lost Podcast. We will see you next time. You can find our socials at The Long Lost Pod. Our Gmail is thelonglostpodcast@gmail.com. Any other stuff, Lana?
I don't think so.
Hell yeah. Okay, hopefully the next episode, I'm feeling it. It's gonna be a great one. We're gonna fucking love it.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Okay. Sounds good. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
We did it.